Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Kristen Andre, and I'm with Andre Consulting Group, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us for our video. If you're not familiar with me or with our practice, we are a firm that's dedicated to helping you tame the chaos so you can enjoy your business and your life a lot more than you may currently be. Part of our practice is private coaching, and in that private coaching, I work a ton with financial advisors. And what I've found over the last decade is that there's some common stumbling blocks that seem to be tripping everybody up. So, what we're going to dive in today is what the top 10 reasons are that your practice isn't growing the way it could. Now, I'm going to assume at this point you may have taken our online quiz, What Type of Advisor Are You? If you have not, be sure to go online and do that. The link is right there at the bottom of this slide. But take a look at what type of advisor you are. Whether you're a builder, adopter, challenger, or innovator, there's a lot of different things you can do to grow the practice beyond where you are. So what we're going to do today is take a look at what those common stumbling blocks are, as well as I'm going to equip you with some strategies that you can tackle those right away. We won't have time to get into everything today because I know you guys are busy, but what I wanted to do is at least give you a great overview so you know where to start. So before we jump into what's holding you back, let's talk about what makes someone a top tier advisor. Now, I've worked with a ton of successful advisors over the years, and everybody's a little bit different, and I love that. That's what makes everyone unique. But what I've found is all of the advisors that I work with have several traits in common when they really take their practice to the next level. The ones I want to really touch on are they don't reinvent the wheel. They figure out what's working and they dive into that. And if that doesn't work, they course correct and they try something else. So they're willing to look at strategies that they know have been tried and true and tested out in the marketplace. They also have a high degree of accountability. So they're making sure that they've got some fannies in the stand that are help holding them accountable to the systems, the strategies, the activities that they put forth to do. They also deliver on their promises and they tend to create a really good experience for their clients, almost a VIP type of experience. So some of the strategies we're going to talk about today have to do with that. Is what it is, what strategies these top tier advisors are following that are really getting them to the next level. Now, before we dive into that, let's talk about what those stumbling blocks are to advisor success. As I mentioned, I've been coaching advisors for a long time, and it seems no matter how successful people are, when they come to me for private coaching, they all tend to have the same things that are stopping them. Sometimes it has to do with staffing and operations. Sometimes it has to do with really taking a look at their practice and figuring out who is it that I want to be in front of? What types of people do I want to work with? But over the years, I've taken a look and I've identified the top 10 reasons I feel advisory practices don't grow as rapidly as they can. That's exactly what we're going to dive into today. So let's get started. The first stumbling block I see is that advisors tend not to have a target market or a niche market that they're working in. A lot of times I'll hear that they don't want to narrow their focus too much for fear of missing out on anybody. When you're a new advisor, that's okay. When you're brand new starting your practice, I think you've got to be somewhat of a generalist and really try to hone your skills, develop your skill set, and learn who you really like to be in front of. But once you've determined who you enjoy working with and the group where you have a keen knowledge and understanding of what their issues are financially, that's when it's time to really dive into that market. So a lot of times I'll see advisors not really defining it. They're seeing everybody. So my first strategy, first piece of advice you could do is clearly define what your target market looks like. For some advisors, this may be an income level or assets under management or investable assets that someone may have. For others, it may be an industry, a company. But really take a moment to define your target market and who it is you want to work with. Once you've done that, the biggest barrier I see to advisors really growing is they're truthfully spending too much time with the wrong people. They'll tell you who they want to work with and they'll say, oh, Kristen, I love working with physicians. And when I really take a look at their calendar and who they're in front of, very little of their time is actually spent in front of that market. So what I would advise you to do is take a close look at your calendar. Be real. If you've identified what an A or an A plus prospect looks like to you, look at your calendar and determine what percentage of your time are you in front of those people. So for example, if you took a look at your calendar and you've got 10 appointments on your calendar this week and 3 of them are in your A market, you're probably not growing as rapidly as you can. So what you want to look at is, how can I spend more time with the people I want to be in front of? Which leads us to our next stumbling block. Too often I see advisors not asking for the introductions they want. The majority of the advisors I privately coach or coach in a group setting do work on a referral basis. I understand some advisors cold call or may gather some introductions through seminars or networking, but prospecting and asking for referrals is truly one of the quickest way to grow your practice. And when I sit down with my private clients and ask them, tell me what you're doing for prospecting, who are you asking for? What I'm hearing is that they're not really asking for who they want. It's very much the keep me in mind. Who do you know that I should talk to? Should I be talking to so-and-so? They're not really targeting who they want to meet for and specifically asking for those introductions. One of the areas of focus of my practice and a lot of the training and the speaking engagements we do is around social media and how to leverage social media. LinkedIn and other tools can be one of the best opportunities out there to ask for the introductions you want. So if you're not already, utilize these online resources to see who's in your target market and then ask directly for an introduction to those people. Now, once you're able to get out and start prospecting, you'll want to make sure that it's not just a take environment for you. You need to be giving back as well. So I'm very big with our private clients on having a well-defined plan for client engagement. And what I mean there is, what are you doing for your clients outside of the advisory work you're doing for them? How do they feel important and special and like a VIP? Remember that your best client is another advisor's best prospects. And since I do work with advisors across the entire country, across the entire industry, I know firsthand that advisors are calling on other advisors' clients. So you want to make sure you're insulating yourself somewhat against that and having an engagement plan that you're working with your clients and keeping them informed, making them feel important to you. So you want to develop those authentic, very deep, engaged relationships with your clients. And in doing so, not only will you retain them, but they'll become advocates for your business and help introduce you to more of the type of people that you want to meet. Now, switching gears a little bit, our next roadblock that I see time and time again is poor time management skills. We all have a ton of things on our plate, and as advisors, I know there's a million things to do. There's paperwork, there's account openings. If you're on the insurance side, there's underwriting. There's lots of things that take up tons and tons of your time. What I've found with advisors and with people outside the industry that we coach is the amount of work you have to do is going to expand or contract to the time you have for it. And what I mean by that is, no matter how much stuff I give you, you're going to get it done, but you're going to take as little or as much time as you want to do that. Typically, my busiest advisors are not necessarily my most productive. And what I mean by that is they've not looked at their schedule to figure out what truly on my calendar is revenue generating activities. So when we work with people, we try to outline some strategies where they're taking a look at their day and they're looking at what they've done and what they've got to do. And they're also planning their following day and that following week to make sure that they're getting everything done that they need to and that they're delegating as much as they need to so their attention can be focused on revenue generating activities, which is being in front of a client or prospect, being in front of a center of influence, or really working to try to get in front of them, meaning you're on the phone, you're networking, you're meeting with people, you're trying to do things that build your business while delegating or passing off some of the other things that truthfully aren't making you any money. So with that, you want to make sure that you are delegating as much as possible. Some of the advisors we work with have a very, very robust staff and a robust team, and that makes that process a heck of a lot easier. Some of the people we work with, it's just them without an assistant. So what we try to look at is what is individual and specific to your situation? What could you be doing? A number of the advisors I work with have been able to focus on revenue generating activities by delegating personal things. Items as simple as lawn service, laundry service, house cleaning, things of that nature. Or I've had other advisors who started using car services so they could work while they were in the car. There are a number of things you can look at and delegate, even outside of your own practice. Now, within your practice, we want to make sure that you're able to pass off that $20 an hour work so you can focus on higher ticket, higher revenue generating activities and the things that will truly grow your business at a more rapid pace. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that you're hiring and training the right people. I see this mistake more than you can imagine in the financial industry. A lot of times people just need help and they're really, really quick to just grab somebody. A lot of my advisors will say, oh, I met this person. They were fantastic. They're going to be great. I can't wait for them to come on board. And they hire them as a staff and it just bottoms out. Typically what I'm seeing in the hiring and training habits are on the hiring side, they're doing it too quick. They're not really taking the time to make sure the skill set fits what they need. A lot of times, left to their own advices, advisors will hire people exactly like them. So there's not really a complementary skill set to work with. So if you're hiring staff, you want to make sure that you have truly taken a look at what is it we need? What roles or tasks are they going to need to do? And how can I make sure that it's a complement to what I want to do? The next piece on the hiring part, which goes to the firing piece, is slow to hire, quick to fire. If they are not working, don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole. You got to get rid of them. Now, that's only after you've trained them properly. A lot of times when I look under the hood of somebody's advisory practice and really take a look at their staffing and what they've got going on in their office, it's not that the candidate or the staff or team member is a bad fit. It's more that they haven't taken the time to train them. So you want to make sure that when you do bring someone on board, whether it's a staff or team member or a junior advisor, that you're taking adequate time to train them on the skills they'll need and the tasks they're going to be responsible for doing. If you can do that, you're in a lot better position to be able to have them working for you, helping you grow your practice quicker. Now, the next stumbling block I'm going to tackle is not building a network of strategic alliances. I will say hands down across the industry, this is one of the biggest challenges and opportunities that I see. A lot of advisors take to networking or building strategic alliances and they don't give it the time it needs to grow. So I'll hear things like, oh, I met with an attorney. She was fantastic. She said she'd refer me business, and it never happens. And the reason it never happens is because you don't follow up and nurture those relationships. So I'm not talking about a referral group or a BNI type of group. While those are good, I'm talking about true deep relationships with other professionals that become advocates for your business. And often you become advocates for them. So these are people that you know, you like, you trust, and they're singing your praises when you're not there. So what you want to do is take a look at the strategic alliances you have. You may call them centers of influence. Whatever you've titled them, make sure you've got a good relationship with them. And what I mean by that is not just that you're popping by to see them a couple times a year, once a quarter, but that you truly are conversing, staying in contact, having genuine conversations, not necessarily about the business, throughout the year. These people can become excellent advocates for your business and will kind of be cheerleaders out in the marketplace for you, which in this crowded market space of financial advisory services, that's a big, big, big advantage to have in your corner. I have one advisor that I've worked with, and she has done a fantastic job of this. It has not happened overnight. These are relationships she's cultivated over her 15 years in the industry. And it's to the point now where most of the business and new clients she gets come to her without her having to even ask. She's getting multiple phone calls each and every week saying, so-and-so suggested I give you a call. Or, my friend Susie suggested I meet with you. This is a great, great benefit of building strategic alliances. And again, it's going to take some time, so you want to continue to nurture those relationships over time. And when you're nurturing them, you also want to make sure that you're giving them something back. When I teach courses or workshops on networking and building strategic alliances, one of the things I say first is I want you to give first. Be a giver before you ever expect to receive anything. If you meet somebody at an event, if you are introduced to a potential center of influence and you're starting to cultivate a relationship, make it a contest with yourself to give a referral or an introduction or tee somebody up to them before they ever do anything with you. I call it putting the good juju out there. So I tell my clients, put the good juju out there and it's going to come back to you. So one of the strategies I like to tell people to incorporate is make at least 2 introductions a week and let go of the outcome. Just proactively refer people. So many times I see advisors only do this with accountants and attorneys, and accountants and attorneys are great referral sources, but they also have a ton of advisors beating down their door. So don't limit it to just that. Who do you know that sells cars, does mortgages? Who do you know that owns a great clothing store down the street? Who do you know that does fantastic alterations? Whatever it is that your clients may need, you want to make sure that you're proactively giving out those referrals. I had an advisor, I didn't mention I was a former managing director in the industry, and I've been an advisor myself, so I've been in your shoes. But when I was a managing director, I had an advisor in my office, and he was a veteran, had been around, had been in the business 40 years. You would go to him for everything. If you needed a mechanic, he knew who to send you to. If you needed somebody to paint your house, he knew he had a guy. The beauty of that was he had done that proactively and just naturally because he was a good guy his whole career. Subsequently, his prospecting and his ability to get new clients was almost effortless. He had done so much goodwill over the years by referring people generously that it was coming back to him. So what I really harp on with people that we work with is do that. Be a giver, build some strategic alliances, and make sure that you are coming from it from a natural place that you're really, really trying to help people. I promise you, it will come back in 100-fold. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is spending time in your business, but not on your business. And what I mean by this is, I call this shiny object syndrome. And I want you to think about this for a minute. If you go to a company meeting or an industry conference, or your firm has speakers come in, so many times I see this shiny new object. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and it's going to revolutionize our practice. Or we're going to try this strategy, or this language, or this program, or this analysis. I hear it over and over again. So what they're doing is they're spending time in their business, but they're not really spending time on it. And what I mean by that is they're chasing the next greatest thing, instead of really taking a step back and looking at your business as a whole and figuring out, what can I do to make this better? How can I spend time on my business to make sure that I've outlined my goals and that I know exactly how I'm going to hit them? So frequently when advisors come to me and they say, oh yeah, I've got goals and here's my goal for the year and here's what I'm going to do, the very first question I ask them is how? Tell me the strategies you've outlined to hit those goals, to make sure you're not going to miss them. And most of the time they go, I hadn't really thought about that. So the 2 pieces of advice I'd have here from a strategy standpoint is, number 1, when you outline a goal, I want you to really take time to write down the strategies that are going to help you get there and the activity that you need to do it. So whether it's a certain number of referrals or introductions you need, whether it's a certain number of appointments you might need to keep, really figure out, how am I going to accomplish this? And then the second piece is have an accountability partner that'll help you. Our private coaching clients, they work with us individually, and we're obviously there to be that accountability partner. But if you're not at the stage in your career where you're hiring a private coach or where you feel like you need one, you can find an accountability partner within your own firm. You may find an accountability partner within your own family. A lot of times, spouses, siblings, best friends, or your business partner, your managing partner, any of those people are typically willing to help hold you accountable. But that's why the strategies are important, because they got to know what to hold you accountable for. So I want you to think through those things and figure out, all right, how can I take a step back and really take a look at my business to figure out what strategies we can do, and then who's going to hold me accountable. So as we go through or went through these 10 things holding you back, I want you to think through, where do you see yourself in your practice in these challenges? Do you have a problem with delegation? Are you more of a generalist and not really targeting a specific market? Perhaps you need to hire somebody or start delegating items. Or it could be the last one we talked about, that you're just running around chaotic, but haven't really taken the step back to figure out what exactly it is you need to do. So what I want to do before I talk about how we might be able to help is I want to give you 3 examples of personal coaching clients that we worked with and the specific strategies that we worked with on them and where it took their practices. So I know we've talked about just some basic quick hit things to think about, but that's a little bit more broad. So let me give you some more specific examples. First, I had a 20-year veteran that I was working with, and he had a great practice. He was doing quite well. He had been stuck at the same level though for about a decade. High level of production, was doing super well, but honestly, I think the impetus of really wanting to grow his practice was that his wife decided she wanted to remodel the kitchen. And that was not going to be an inexpensive undertaking. So he came to me, we started working together. He had very set patterns, obviously, as one can imagine after 20 years. So what we looked at with him as we really took that step back and evaluated his practice is his time management was terrible. He would take all day to do things that could be done in a couple of hours. And at the same time, he was holding on to so much. Despite the fact he had a very engaged and capable staff, he was holding on to too much. So with him, what we were able to do is really time block his schedule a little bit, get him more efficient, delegate the task and skills that he did not need to be managing. And what it ended up doing was freeing up about 4 hours a day that he could focus on building new relationships, seeking new business, getting new introductions. And it really, really took him within about, I'd say 18 months, if not sooner, he had dramatically grown his practice, more than 50%. And this is somebody who'd been at the same level forever. So with him, it was a matter of time efficiency, delegation. So again, it started with taking a look at where he was spending his time. The next person we were looking at was a second-year advisor who had tripled his production in less than a year. This was a fun person to work with. Fantastic, dynamic, new advisor. Was doing really, really well in the business. But what we were learning is, as a lot of new advisors do, he wasn't asking for the people he wanted. What he typically would do is he was just more general. He just wanted to get out and meet new people. But he was growing so rapidly that we really needed him to fine-tune who he wanted to work with. He ended up having a lot of success in the medical market with working with pharmacists. So we really were able to devise a plan where he could ask specifically for the type of people he wanted to meet. And in building that pharmacy practice, or a practice related to working with pharmacists, he was able to triple his production very rapidly. It was a matter of targeting his market and asking for the introductions he wanted. The third person was a 10-year advisor. He dramatic growth. But what we looked at with him is he was not spending time in the market he loved. He had an incredible knowledge base of the problems and the challenges facing in the physician market. And while he had a great practice, physicians were only a small part of it. He did great with them when he worked with them, but it was really only about 20% of his practice. So what we started looking at is, once we knew that that was really where his love and his passion was working in the physician market, we got strategic about how do we find more of these people. And what we found for him in particular is we researched physicians and we researched his current client base. And what we found is his best clients that he most enjoyed working with and that he brought the most value to were physicians who owned something else. They owned a surgery center, they owned a med spa. So what we did is we developed strategies from there where we were able to say, you love working with these people, you're great. Who do they know? How can we take it and expand it out starting here? So in doing so, we were able to grow him dramatically, and now produces a couple million of production a year, which is fantastic. It's not a bad revenue place to be for most people. So those are just some examples of how we applied the strategies of these top 10 things. So I realize there's a whole lot to cover, and there's a gazillion strategies with each of these challenges that we really dive deeper into on an individual basis. But I'm going to assume that a lot of you guys, one, you're here because you want to grow, which is fantastic. But I'm going to assume a lot of you guys may not be ready or for private coaching. So we have a webinar series that's going to be launching soon. It launches next month, where we're going to give you strategies for each one of these top 10 challenges. Now, not only are we going to give you the strategies that are used by top tier advisors that are killing it in the marketplace, we're going to do this, deliver it via webinar, and we're also going to have downloadable action plans so you can implement what you learn. Because what I've found is if I just tell you what to do and leave you to your own devices, it gets a little tougher to get it done. So we're going to make sure in this 8-week course that you can access on demand at your own leisure, that you've got a downloadable action plan that you can immediately implement what we've learned or what we've taught you. Lastly, we're also going to have some online question and answer sessions so you can have access to me and have access to our team to really answer any questions you have and make sure you can do this. My goal is that you build a practice that you love, that you work with people that you truly enjoy working with, and that this is something you can do for a long, long, long time. This is an incredibly great industry, and my passion is making sure that the advisors that I work with or come in contact or have the opportunity to speak to love what they do and are building a practice that not only benefits their clients and truly, truly helps their clients, but is also something they're really engaged in and are having some fun. So be on the lookout for more information on that, and also just so you can kind of test the waters and see how you think you might grow your practice. Next week, I'm going to be sending out an interactive calculator that's kind of a fun tool to play around with. And what it's going to let you do is look at, all right, if I follow some of Kristen's strategies and I pick up 5 clients, 10 clients, 20 clients off it, how much more money can I make? Because I really want you to start thinking about, all right, this could really have an impact on my business. Because what I've found from advisors, we're all money guys. So the more I can convince you that this is really going to pay off to you and to your clients, the more likely you are to jump in it and actually start following some of these strategies. So it has been great to be with you today. If you need me or have any questions about the information I covered, specific questions about your advisor type and how it might relate to what you're doing and some of the common challenges I may see with that type, shoot me an email. It's right there, Kristen@andregroup.com, or be sure to visit our website, andregroup.com, and learn more about what we have to offer. But check your inboxes, and we'll be in touch with more information soon. Again, thanks for joining us, and have a fantastic day.